What's up, everybody? It's Joe popping in here. We're going to talk about kettlebell handles, chalk, and hand tears, okay? So there's so many different things when we come to the variables on what can make your palm tear, okay? The first thing we want to do is, if you're sensing a rip, if you're sensing a blister, you want to stop there, you want to take care of it. But the biggest thing is, we want to keep our hands, we want to keep big calluses shaved down. We want to take care of our hands. First and foremost, we want to make sure we don't have any giant calluses sticking up. So I like to take either one of those petty eggs or something like that, just to kind of file down the hand, the callus when it's soft. So maybe after a shower or a bath, you want to take that callus and file it down. Keep your hands moisturized so they're not gonna get big tears and cuts. So now, let's go back to the handle. So, people think that by using chalk, okay, here's a liquid chalk, here's a powdered chalk, right? So, right in there. So, they think, or at least a lot of people think, that by using chalk, you're not gonna rip your hands. When in fact, the opposite is true. Okay, so what chalk does is chalk keeps things dry, and it provides basically friction. It provides bite, okay? So what I mean bite is when I grab that chalk, instead of allowing it to slip, it's actually going to create a little bit more friction. And more friction is what we want when we have a grip, okay? So right there, we want that grip to stay right there. We don't want it to slide in our hands. Now, what people are missing is when they chalk up their hand, if they're grabbing, let's say here, now that kettlebell is grinding in their hand, with more bite, it's gonna cause tearing, okay? It's gonna cause heat. So if you apply chalk correctly, and I brought a bunch of different bells out here, notice they're all different. So here's a Kettlebells USA, here's a Kettlebell King, and you can see there's so many different variables with kettlebells. You can have different steel, you can have different preparation of the handle. This is an old kettlebell, and all kettlebells will rust. All of them will rust. Okay, so if there's moisture in your training area, or this one was sitting in our greenhouse, but if there's moisture in your area where you train in, or humidity, all that stuff, high humidity, you're going to get some rust. So a lot of people, best thing to do is take a quick light sandpaper and sand that down. These kettlebells don't have any pitting or anything. These are all nice. But even this, like Kettlebells USA, this, I don't know if you can see it. Let's get that. There's a coating, okay, on the handle itself. Right there. This is an E-coat kettlebell. This is a competition kettlebell. This Kettlebell USA is very, very smooth. You can see the shine. But there's a coating on both of these Paradigm Pro kettlebells, and Valery Fedorenko bells did this, I believe, first. A long time ago, they'd put a coating on the actual handle that would allow you to work your chalk in very, very quickly. Okay, I'm not going to do this. This isn't going to be a video about how to chalk your kettlebells, although there'll be some quick tips in there. But this is about how to take care of your hands. So, even right here, the E-coating kettlebells versus powder coating kettlebells, they're all different, okay? You have to kind of apply a little differently. So what I found is, what works really, really quick, is if you do a light coat of liquid chalk, okay? Whatever company you use, this is a Viking, whoop, and it's all over me. It's all over my pants. So I'm going to do a light coat. You can see that on some of these. So a light coat, now watch this. So that's how fast that stuff works. Now, what I'm going to do is, after I have this here, I'm going to go over and take, once it's dried, I'm going to take a chunk of the magnesium chalk. It's all over. Get some on here. Some on there. I'm going to smooth it down, and this is a big one. This is a 56. Then I'm going to put that coating on top of that for me. So what that liquid chalk did was just sped up the process of chalking for me, okay? So that's got a lot of chalk on there. Now, do the same thing on this one that I've done a little liquid chalk to. So you can just build up your chalk. Some people like a lot, some people like a little. So, to me, the thing is, if you have to have your chalk just right, and all the bells are different, so you got to test it out, okay? So, to me, if you have too little chalk, here's a chalked hand, right? Here's a lightly chalked hand. When this starts to get wet, it's just going to get slippery, okay? So you can literally turn your chalk into sludge. When you sweat and you drip down into that, it's literally going to go like when it rains and the underneath the bridge is dry and then the cars drive through there, it brings that water, brings that moisture with it. The same thing would happen if you start dripping down through here. So wristbands can help too. But basically what chalk, just the proper amount of chalk will do is it'll keep the heat down. It'll keep the heat down. And heat and friction is what causes that to tear, okay? Causes your skin to tear. So if you have just the right amount of chalk with kettlebell jerk or something like that, to me the bells almost feel lighter. When I snatch, the bells almost feel softer. Like there's this pad of, and that's what you want. So I want a bit to slide, so you don't want that rough edges. So right here, there's a little chalk, like a little rust on this bell. It's a Valery Fedorenko pro grade bell from probably 2009 or 10. Still a great bell. Handle is awesome. And handle here is my favorite handle. They're all different, okay? But anyway, let's get back into that. So when you're snatching, you're trying to glide. Let me move this back in here. Alright, remind me not to open that upside down. It's still coming out. I'm gonna waste some chalk, hopefully not. Yep, get that back in there. See, that's my problem. I shook it up and I left some at the bottom, so we're gonna apply this to all of our bells before we waste it. And that liquid chalk, you don't need a lot. See that? But that liquid chalk, a little goes a long way. You see how it's wet? Then, okay, so there's a lot of stuff, a lot of benefits to using that liquid chalk. It's basically the alcohol in it just dries out, and then you're left with the magnesium. Alright, so now that I have a mess there and a super chalky hand, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about how, see, that feels pretty good. So I'm going to smooth that out. So once people get chalk on there, we don't want to put too much chalk. If you spend a whole lot of time putting too much chalk, you can start to have little bumps, okay? And a lot of people I've seen use the water spray method. They actually get little bumps and ridges. So that right there can tear by that part of the handle, you know, catching. That's what we want. We don't want to have catching. So when we do actually catch the kettlebell, and I'm going to move this over here. When we do, see, this one feels, oh, this feels so perfect. Like, it feels soft. It doesn't feel like there's any edges. There's no roughness. There's nothing from the handle. It literally feels super smooth but sticky, okay, right there. So when I catch the handle, all right, the biggest thing we want to do to keep from tearing, because now we're all chalked up. And all right, so there's more bite now. We applied the proper amount of chalk. Okay, so we want to catch this kettlebell or swings, in our cleans, in our snatches, we're gonna catch it without it grinding, because there's more bite, without it grinding in the hand, okay? So when the kettlebell handle, say we have it up here in snatch, when we drop it down, we wanna pull our hand. We're gonna pull our hand out, so we're up here. We're gonna pull our hand out so it's barely touching, barely skimming the surface of the kettlebell until we can catch it in the fingers and wrap our thumb. When people are catching it like this, catching it here and then grinding in the hand, that is exactly what gets you to start tearing your calluses, okay? So, as the kettlebell is here and it comes down, we're quickly pulling out that hand, grabbing. Now here is where we want to maintain the hold of the kettlebell, because it's not moving back and forth. It's not creating friction. We want the bite and we want the grip, okay? So there, that's what we're having. That's going to keep it from sliding out. We use the tension and the strength of our skin, once we've tempered the hand skin, to not tear and create a tacky surface full of bite, okay? Then we bring it back up. We're in our clean position. When we take it down, we're going to drop, pull that hand out a bit, and catch right when it's like we're swinging that bucket, okay? So right there. That's the thing. So people that are starting to use chalk, you will possibly tear more when you have chalked your kettlebell if you are grabbing it in the wrong spot.